Now I feel like I'm getting deja vu doing a press conference video ahead of Liverpool's trip to Everton this season, but hopefully the game will actually go ahead this time and there's not any storms going to batter Merseyside that force the game to be called off. Now, if the game does go ahead, then the team news will actually be relevant in this video, and it's a bit of a mixed bag from Arne Slot today in terms of updates around where his squad are up to. Now, of course, we saw Joe Gomez limp out of that game against Plymouth at the weekend, and unfortunately he won't be involved in this game as a result. Arne Slot confirmed it's an injury in the same leg, another muscle injury to the one he just got and just came back from. He did describe that as a concern, so no firm timescale on that one from Arne Slot, but it sounds a little bit worrying. Hopefully it's not too long on the sidelines, but of course we know as a bare minimum he's going to miss this Merseyside derby. There was also an update on Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, which is a little bit more positive. He was described as basically having a chance for this game. He took part in parts of training yesterday, and the hope is that he'll train fully today, and then it's all about a decision on whether he can be involved or not. Of course, he hasn't missed much football, has he? He's only been out for a couple of games, so you'd like to think he'd be fit enough. But of course, Liverpool have got a lot of players fit at the moment, so it's all about the decision making then on what the composition of the squad looks like for the manager. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes about that one, but hopefully Trent can be involved, because even if you can just use him off the bench as an option to try and get you a goal late on with his creativity, I think that would be really, really helpful, wouldn't it? Now, you may not be aware of this fact coming into this derby at Goodison Park, but Liverpool's record at their rivals' home reads 41 wins for Liverpool, 41 wins for Everton, and 37 draws between the sides. So what's at stake here really is which of these two sides, these Merseyside rivals, is going to leave Goodison Park with a winning record against the other. It's crazy to think that, really, and that's a pretty good record for Liverpool already, that they're even for wins, but they could leave Goodison Park because it is, of course, the final derby there, having won more games than Everton there in Merseyside derbies. So a lot at stake, and of course this statistic, because it is so interesting, was put to Arne Slot in his pre-match press conference, and he had a lot to say about it. I thought it was quite interesting actually. He said it's an extra reason why the atmosphere will probably be even better than all the occasions before, and he spoke about the fact that, you know, the crowd when Everton cross the halfway line, they could be going crazy. When they get a corner, it's something that Liverpool have to deal with, and he appreciates that as a big aspect in this game. And he said that Liverpool have got to be, quote, mentally strong, very mentally strong in this game to get through it. That is an important factor as much as the footballing quality that they want to show. And he used a phrase that I quite liked as well. He said we've got to have cool heads but not cool legs, and by that, it's a bit of a weird phrase I guess, but by that he means that, yeah, you've got to be calm mentally. You've got to, you know, block out all the atmosphere and everything that's going on in the stands, and the fact that Everton are going to be so up for it. But he doesn't want cool legs. He wants his players to be matching that physicality, to be getting around the pitch and matching Everton for work rate, because that is the job really, isn't it? If you don't match Everton for work rate, then they might be able to bully you in this game, and you may end up with a kind of similar game to what we saw against Plymouth at the weekend, where they kind of outworked Liverpool a bit, physically bullied them and made it really difficult for them to show that they had more quality on the pitch. So that's what it's all about. And I thought it was really interesting actually, talking around this subject, that Arne Slot mentioned that he'd watched last season's game, of course Liverpool going down to a defeat then. I think the title hopes were already over at that point, but it was a real nail in the coffin and a really disappointing result. And he spoke about watching that back, and he'd really noticed and wanted to drill down on the fact that there'd been kind of 10 free kicks given to Everton, or he said 9 out of 10 free kicks given in the first 15 minutes or so seemed to go in Everton's favour. And I thought it was really interesting that he kept mentioning that, because I wonder whether that's kind of a message to his players. He's saying you've got to be smarter. Yes, you want to be physical. Yes, you want to get stuck in. Yes, you want to match their work rate, but be smart about how you do it. Don't give away cheap free kicks and cheap opportunities for them to put the ball in the box and make it difficult for you. Or is it a bit of a message to the referee as well, to say that, you know, Everton are going to try and bully Liverpool, but also if they can buy a cheap free kick, they absolutely will go down easily and try and do that and get the crowd on their side, win themselves opportunities to put the ball in the box. So kind of interesting really to see which way you feel about that, in terms of who do you think he was giving the message to, the players or the referee, or perhaps both. But it was interesting, I think, that he kept coming back to that point. He mentioned it a couple of times in this press conference, completely unprompted, so it's obviously a message he wants to get across to someone. Now, there's a couple of big picture talking points from this press conference as well, and the first of those, of course, is the fact that Liverpool went out of the cup at the weekend Obviously, that's been framed as Liverpool missing out on the quadruple or throwing away a quadruple chance. I mean, I personally never really saw it like that, in terms of I see the quadruple is basically impossible because you've got so many games to get through. Who's got a squad that's strong enough to manage that? And he basically went with the 11 he kind of had to go with, and the squad he had to go with, considering what Liverpool have got coming up fixture-wise. But it was interesting. He seemed really kind of relaxed about the defeat, I thought, in the aftermath, more kind of accepting that this was something that could happen if you name that sort of starting 11, if you name that sort of squad. But he was a little bit stronger on it today, which I thought was fascinating, really. He said, he used the phrase, to lose against Plymouth is unacceptable, and he said that it was the performance more than the result that bothered him. He would, if Liverpool are going to go out, he would have liked them to play better, even allowing for all the changes that he's made. And it made you wonder, had he watched the game back since, and that's what's kind of got him riled up a little bit, that he didn't really like that performance and the way Liverpool played. And you've got to agree that they were very poor on the day as well, despite, even acknowledging the fact that he had changes. He probably had enough on the pitch to play better. And he also disagreed with the suggestion in one question that it was a blessing in disguise for Liverpool. I mean, I spoke about in my post-match review the upsides of this, the fact that Liverpool have got so many games coming up, they've already played so many games. You've got to acknowledge that in your selection. But he didn't agree that going out the FA Cup is going to help Liverpool, particularly, as he said, well, for starters, obviously they want to win every game that they play in, but he also said that it's difficult now to see where his fringe players are going to get minutes. He said that that's a little bit of a worry, and I did highlight that as a concern in my post-match review, actually. He said that you could see in the game against PSV that these players weren't sharp, so you've got to give them games. But now they haven't really got any games coming up, so that is a difficult element, really, of managing his squad. He's got to think about going forward now. Of course, there should be some opportunities, at least off the bench, I would imagine, because Liverpool have now started a run of 5 games in 15 days. And Arne Slot was pretty keen to suggest that is not really defining for the season. He wanted to say that every phase of the season is as important as the last, because Liverpool, every win they've got up to now has put them in the position that they're in. And so he doesn't think this is defining. But I have to say, I don't often disagree with Arne Slot, but I don't really agree with this one, with his suggestion that this isn't a defining run. Obviously, he's probably got to play it down, because if Liverpool lose a few, he doesn't want that to be seen as a real issue for them. But for me, it's not necessarily a run of games where they can lose the title by any means, but I think it's a run of games where they could win the title. Because for me, if they get an acceptable points haul out of this, and it doesn't have to be 5 wins out of 5, I think they can break Arsenal's belief completely. I think they can feel that Arsenal will feel that they're running out of road. They won't have enough games left. And it's important to do that, I think, at this point, because if they're anywhere close when they get Saka back, who is so crucial to them, they'll believe that they can kick on, particularly as they had this warm weather training camp, which was so important to them last season. They might have a bit of belief there, so Liverpool can break that, I think, if they can get the wins. And it's the fact as well that they're going to be going level on games when they get this Everton game in hand out the way, and then also going ahead in games when they get to the Villa game as well. So it's an opportunity to really pile pressure on. They could have a big lead there, even having played a game more that Arsenal will just not really win, not really believe that they can overturn. So I think it's a really important run of games for Liverpool. As I say, I think a run where they can go on and win the title, even though I don't believe that they can lose it in this run. So it is, of course, crucial, I think, anyway. But, of course, the important thing is that they've got to win against Everton first. That is the first of the run of 5 games in 15 days. And if you don't win that one, you're starting off on the wrong footing, aren't you? So this is as ever, the next game is the most important game, I would say. So I'm going to wrap it up there anyway. I'm not actually sure yet if I'm going to be at Goodison Park for this game. I was accredited last time. I haven't quite got my accreditation through. That's the life of a journalist. Not really sure whether I'll be there. But of course, regardless of the fact whether I'm at Goodison Park or not, I will be back on for my post-match review as ever. So subscribe if you want to catch that. And of course, if you can like the video, always massively appreciate that. And I'm going to leave it there and say see you guys very soon.